I'm Brian Giddens, and I'm a professional stakeholder for Bright. Our study has met for about 5 years. However, the COVID-19 pandemic brought unique considerations that we had not had to deal with before. The team worked together to make adjustments that prioritize study engagement during that difficult time. COVID caused changes that led to feelings of increased isolation and stress. There was a higher level of anxiety about the unknown, particularly in the beginning of the pandemic. There was increased worry around getting sick, especially felt by those who are immunocompromised. Work and home structures were constantly changing for folks. All of these things cause unprecedented feelings of loneliness and burnout.
Hi, I'm Gail. I'm a Bright Family Care stakeholder. The first year or so of Bright was difficult for a lot of stakeholders because we had to figure out how to connect to each other over a video platform. But we were already very familiar with using Zoom by the time that the pandemic actually hit. Bright already had a familiar structure in place, and the routine and flow of the meeting felt like a safe space. When so many things in the world were changing, Bright stayed the same. We continued to meet online, kept our schedule and agenda, and we kept working towards the goals of the study, a study that we all feel so very passionate about. As many of us felt isolation and burnout growing in our personal lives, we had a group that we knew would be supportive. We could lean on each other and validate that we weren't alone, even if our struggles didn't look the same.
I'm Audrey Self. I'm a patient stakeholder for Bright. Probably the biggest change that Bright experienced due to the pandemic was that we missed our annual in-person meetings. In the past, meeting face-to-face helped build relationships. Moving the meetings solely to online was disappointing. We didn't have the time to reconnect in person, which made it harder to feel as engaged in the virtual gatherings. These online meetings are now a part of many stakeholders' daily lives, especially at work and for medical appointments. And Zoom fatigue is a real thing. You just don't get quite the same personal connection over a screen. And since we had the opportunity to meet in person before, we miss that connection.
It's true that we miss in-person meetings, but on the other hand, while the world was shutting down in so many ways, the Bright study just kept going. The whole Bright team was consistent with their communication and support. Though not ideal, we understood the need for a virtual annual meeting given the pandemic. We were impressed with how well the staff was able to pivot. They made some important changes. While the face-to-face meeting had programming all day long, the virtual one was kept shorter to limit screen time and Zoom fatigue.
It was important to intentionally create some informal team building since we weren't able to physically meet together. We used breakout rooms to have smaller discussions. The investigators and staff also tried to make it as personable as possible. For example, during breaks, the investigators and staff played music featuring some of their family members. It was a really nice touch and made us feel a little bit more connected as a group. Bright remained a consistent structure for stakeholders when many other things were in a state of constant flux. They pivoted from the annual in-person format to a virtual one very well. This helped maintain our group's unity.